Jason. How are you?
The floor is mine, or
I can do a quick intro if you'd like,
Sure.
Chef, just to
Sure.
fill everybody in. First off, welcome everyone again. Chef Jason here. Tonight we have a chef that has kind of been all over the place, and I honestly look up to him. I've been following him for a couple years now through podcasts and a couple other things. Chef Chris Hill, I saw your TED Talk, or one of the TED Talks you've done, as well as follow your podcast and a couple other things. If I'm not mistaken, you were a former marketing consultant, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you decided to go ahead and get into being a chef and opening up your own restaurant?
I did, yeah. So kind of long story short, I grew up in Atlanta, went to college, got a master's in marketing, did consulting for a year, hated my job. Worked in restaurants kind of all the way through. My cousin owned some restaurants up here in Virginia, so I ended up moving up to Virginia to work with him, opened one up, and kind of grew into becoming a chef over a 5-6 year process. Even though I kind of started working in kitchens at 18, so it's been a long ride, a lot of ups and downs. But yeah, so ran the restaurant for 5 years, sold my share after the 5-year option was up, and then. They ran it for 3 more. And so now I adjunct teach culinary school. So I teach marketing here at the Culinary Institute of Virginia, as well as the food safety, like the serve safe class. So.
Okay. Fantastic. Well,
yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and take us on into it. I know I'm really excited about it. And like I said, I caught a bit of it, but I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. So floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you all for tuning in. And if there's any questions, I assume you can maybe just leave them in the comments, and maybe Lisa can kind of get to them as we progress. And if she feels like there's a reason to interrupt me and go ahead and put it out there, I'm happy to kind of stop and tackle some of those. So I feel like I have an interesting perspective coming from a marketing side, understanding the marketing side, but also the food service side. And here we are, obviously, at a very challenging time in our industry, something we've never seen any of us before. And the question is kind of, what are we going to do with the situation? So you're talking all about food service in a kind of post-COVID-19 world. And let's see here, make sure I can. Trying to. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Number of challenges. I think originally we have to kind of think about personal hygiene, kind of first and foremost, for our staff, but also the people coming in, as well as ourselves. And then, if we do that right, we then are able to build consumer trust. So our customers come back and they feel comfortable. They feel like they can trust us to come in. And then that's where we were able to actually generate revenue. And I know there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of companies out there that are struggling, that are trying to make ends meet. I know a lot of here in Virginia, we're at 50% capacity, which you kind of do the numbers, and in a lot of ways, it doesn't really make sense. So how do you kind of work through that? We'll talk about some different revenue streams and things of that nature as well. But I think it kind of starts with the staff buying in to the personal hygiene and everything. And I think probably the most important thing is, a lot of our kitchen crews are younger and maybe a little bit kind of rebellious and say, oh, well, I don't need to wear a mask, or I'm not gonna get sick. And there's certain parts of me that kind of feel that way. But at the end of the day, it's not really about you. It's not really about the people around you as much as it is the people that we're trying to take care of. And if we can make them feel safe, they're going to come back in, they're going to tell their friends. And this is really an opportunity, I think, a lot of people talk about this being like a resetting of the table, where we can kind of rethink our brand. We can rethink the way we're putting ourselves out there. And if we do it right, starting kind of right now, then I think we have a huge opportunity. So me obviously teaching the Serve Safe and the food safety class, I want to kind of just cover quickly the cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting. So, in Serve Safe, they don't really even talk about disinfecting at all, I don't think. But cleaning is obviously getting rid of the stuff that we can see. Sanitizing is using obviously maybe heat, but typically chemicals to get rid of the stuff that we can't see. And that's really, I say get rid of, it's really minimizing to a safe level. And then disinfecting is getting rid of everything. The problem is when we disinfect, we can't use that on food surface places. So I think knowing those three things and the difference between them is good. I mean, we could probably all ask our staffs, and most of them would not know the difference between those three. So I think that helps to kind of give a good baseline and know that, all right, well, this is the three keys, and we'll talk a little bit about washing hands and things of that nature as well. So some best practices for the front of the house, and some of these I'm sure you guys have seen. I'm sure some might be new, but we can kind of talk through them, and then maybe at the end, we'll get maybe a little more granular. So obviously signage is huge, on the front door, throughout the restaurant, throughout the dining room. Again, this is to make the customers feel safe. It's also to make the health department happy, right? When they come in, they want to see all that kind of stuff. Then there's obviously contactless payment. So I know you guys in the country club world don't really have to worry about that. But I would be curious to know kind of, obviously, I know where my parents go, you have a little piece of paper, you kind of sign it, and not really that big of a deal, but obviously contactless payment. So things like Apple Pay, Google Pay, where you basically put your phone up to a reader and it takes care of the transaction for you. You don't have to give them any cash. You don't have to use your credit card, or they don't have to take your credit card. So things like that make it very seamless, very frictionless. And I think we'll probably see those types of methods of payment finally kind of going full mainstream. They've kind of plugged along for a long time. I think we'll probably finally see that actually go mainstream. I know here in Virginia, outdoor seating, they've been very accommodating. The cities have with allowing sidewalks to open up for patio dining and things like that. They've reallocated some parking spaces to accommodate them as well. I think a lot of landlords are probably fairly open to, obviously they want their rent check every month, but at the same time, they're, I think, very open to the different ways that their tenants can make some money. So reservations and wait lists, this is one I think we'll see a lot more reservation-based dining experiences, even kind of mid-casual type restaurants where you wouldn't really think of reservation, but if you offer reservations, obviously that's going to be a way to minimize the amount of people that are showing up at the same time. So, I went to a restaurant last weekend where they just did reservations. We actually walked in and they gave us the table, but they said, reservation required. With that, that way you're not going to have a bunch of people waiting around the vestibule. Same thing with like a wait list. So if you have a wait list, you obviously can take their name down. A lot of places now use, well, hey, we'll text you or give you a call when your table's ready. So things like that are obviously going to minimize the amount of people that are around at the same time. Restrooms. So this is one that I think most of us don't really think about much of. So obviously, at least the way I look at it, when you walk in the restroom, if the restroom's clean, that's a sign that it's a clean restaurant across the board. If it's a dirty restroom, then what's it like in the kitchen, right? Along the same lines, so I hate going to Starbucks. I love Starbucks, but I hate going to Starbucks because you go to the bathroom and you wash your hands and then you have to use the blow dryer. And we've all probably heard some of the studies out there that talk about the blow dryers essentially blow fecal matter around. So this might not be virus particles, but it still can be bacteria. And something that we probably just want to get away from, at least in the short term. So if you have the blow dryers, I've heard some scientists say maybe just go ahead and have some paper towels there for use, if nothing else, other than to be able to grab the door handle. There's also the door hooks are really good as well. I hate having to like grab the inside of your shirt and you kind of use the inside of your shirt to try and open up the door. So hand sanitation, we'll talk a little bit about that here. So obviously there's different roles of staff, and some of the best practices I've seen is having everyone really know exactly what it is that their role is. So I think there's never been a more important time to have a really solid expo person. So the person, to me, the expo guy has a nail driven through his head. He doesn't move for 3 hours, and with that, he or she is able to see the food coming out, especially as we see a lot of more to-go stuff, a lot more delivery type stuff, but also making sure the right people are running the food. So that's where having food runners, their one and only job is to run food. Then you have bussers that maybe their only job is to clear dirty plates. And then you have the servers that are taking drink orders and taking food orders. And this might sound strange, but if we're going to limit them touching contaminated plates and glassware, even if there's maybe a plate that's ready to be cleared from the table, to me, being the customer service, a dining-oriented person, then I just want to grab that plate. But maybe the time being, the next couple months, we have someone that's specifically geared towards removing those plates, so that they're the only one that's getting contaminated with the plates. So that's their only job, kind of going back and forth to the dishwasher and back. Bartenders, I think we've all seen bartenders who've probably not been the most hygienic workers. Like if before this happened, I'd always tell my students to just go to the bar, watch your bartender pour your drink, and see all the different things they do in between when they make your drink and then the next time they wash their hand. And it's really unappealing. Obviously, when you think about like fruit caddies and things like that, we've all probably seen a waitress, grab an olive pick or grab a cherry out of the little container, which obviously is not going to fly anymore. Probably never should have, but I think we need to get on top of our bar staff about being a little bit more cognizant of washing hands. So one of the things too is having accessibility to sanitizer. So I was speaking with a scientist, I can't remember her name, but she was talking about personal hygiene and washing your hands and sanitizing and everything. And I asked, well, in an ideal world, like you wash your hands and sanitizer doesn't replace washing your hands. That's what they tell us in the Serve Safe book and everything. But I said, well, we know our service staff, they get busy on a Friday night, they're running around, you grab their checkbooks, they're writing, use their pens, they're grabbing menus, they're punching in the computer, grabbing glassware. So their hands are all over the place. Chances are they're not going to be clean at any given moment. So I said, well, if they can't wash their hands all the time, would you recommend maybe putting some sanitizer stations, like the little stands where you can get the little gel that comes out? And she said absolutely. So what I would recommend, and she vouched for this, she said, put your sanitizer stations in different high traffic areas, maybe by the bar, maybe by the different computers, maybe by the glassware where they're getting drinks. So that's one I think that can be really helpful. And I think they say too, I think it's the CDC guidelines for employees that are not doing the same, if they're doing the same task, to wash their hands at least once every hour. I think that's probably not enough right now. And again, this goes back to transparency of trying to make our customers feel safe, especially when we think about all the open kitchens we have now. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Condiment caddies. I went to a restaurant, I guess it was last couple of days, and they had the condiment caddies still out there, like the Heinz 57 or bottle of mustard or something like that. And I think that's one of those things where it's not going to work any longer. I think we should go towards having single use, using the bullet ramekins to fill up your ketchup, your honey mustard, all that kind of stuff. Versus, especially you think of like a lot of the barbecue places, they'll have like their barbecue caddies will just drop off with like the vinegar and the spicy and the tomato paste and the Alabama white. Maybe instead just have bring them out as requested, things along that lines. I've also seen where, and this really more applies to self-seating. So maybe it's a fast casual restaurant, maybe it's a quick serve restaurant, or maybe it's like a food court type place, but where you have a table card. So it has a green side and has a red side. The green side means that the table has been cleaned and sanitized and is good to go. And if it's red, that means that the people that have eaten there have taken their plates, but it hasn't been cleaned and sanitized and disinfected yet. So that's a good way to for a self-seating area for people to know, okay, like this isn't ready for me to sit at yet, and obviously for the employee to know that, okay, I can go ahead and clean this table now. So the personal hygiene as a whole, obviously washing hands, we talked about that, and paper towels versus the blow dryers, wellness checks. So it's interesting because I think it was 1993, I could be wrong, but 1993 when Jack in the Box had their big E. coli outbreak where, all the kids got sick and a number of them died. And with that, they kind of set the new standard for food safety. And then, fast forward 23, 24 years to 2016, 17, when we've all probably had a joke or two at Chipotle's expense, with all the different outbreaks they've had, where the biggest, most recent one was norovirus up in Boston. The whole Boston College basketball team got sick with norovirus, couldn't play their game. But with that, they got a new CEO and everything. But with that, they created kind of a new standard as well, and they've been doing wellness checks for the last 3 years. So you walk in the back door, your employee, you're a vendor, either one, you get checked. And I heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I heard that the Brinks guy came with money, or maybe he was picking the money up. He walked in the back door, the manager didn't do a wellness check, and he got fired on the spot. So I don't know if the regional guy was there or what, but they also take it very seriously. And that's kind of one of those things where, I can kind of see both sides, where it's like, all right, well, maybe we have a little bit of forgiveness, but at the same time, maybe you have systems and processes in place in order to make sure that people abide by them. So face masks, I think there's a great opportunity to have branded face masks. Whether it's I think it'd be a nice touch, like at a country club, like some of you guys are at, or I think it's a great way for culinary schools to kind of showcase what they do, through their students and through their chef instructors, as well as obviously restaurants. Assigning roles and responsibilities. So this is where I think we can really empower our staff to kind of step up and take a little more responsibility. And obviously, I'm writing a book right now on leadership in the restaurant world, and a lot of what our staff wants, when they get burnt out or when they're not really feeling empowered or driven, is they want to keep moving and progressing and have more responsibility. So this is where you can assign roles and responsibilities. So maybe you have someone that is the chief sanitation officer, someone that's the chief personal hygiene, or making sure that everyone has all their has the right uniform every single day, and have different people in charge of different things. That way, one person's not trying to kind of tackle all this stuff. A lot of this is stuff we've thought about but haven't really had at the forefront of our minds up until recently. So having those things in mind, I think, can be really helpful. And itemizing them out, it helps give them responsibility. It helps them to hold themselves accountable and the people around them accountable as well. And then obviously, I think this is also another opportunity where, I think a lot of us have probably worked at some point in our career where, it's a Friday and you're not feeling well, and chef says, oh, just work through the rush. You'll be the first one cut, and you can get out of here. I think this is where we can kind of start to maybe change that, at least across the industry. I know we have a bunch of great chefs in the room with us right now, but I assume there's a lot of kitchens that are still run that way. So I think we can at least hopefully move away from that, and at the end of the day, make sure that we have our staff's best interest in mind. Yeah, I think maybe in the short term should at least get rid of bare hand contact with food in general. So obviously you can't use your bare hands to handle ready to eat food, anything that's not going to be cooked again. But I think in the time being, just getting away from bare hand contact with food in general would be a good practice. I think it sets the standard and the tone, and shows our staff that we're committed to this. You see chefs, whether it's on TV or in different restaurants, when you're peeking in the window, where you see them putting a garnish on there with their bare hands. I think that sets a bad precedent for the people around them. Logbooks and HACCP. So this is obviously going to be important as relates to systems and procedures moving forward, but also with the health department coming in, keeping track of everything. There's going to be a lot of attention to temperatures. Obviously making sure that things are kept the right temperature, which is really more towards bacteria, but viruses get killed around like 132 to 145, depending on what they are as well. So if you're not holding your food at 135, which you're supposed to, that could be a problem. Even though I think they've also shown that the COVID's not typically going to be transmitted through food, but you never know. And then staff education. This is where I think we can really use the opportunity every day when a shift starts to have some sort of pre-shift, where you maybe you tell some stories, talk about what's going on, but then make sure that everyone really knows what's going on. Make sure they all know the policies and the procedures and what's happening. And maybe there's a lesson from the day before that I'm sure there's a lesson from the day before that could be taught, that could be a learning experience for everybody. So the question is, what will make our customers feel safe? And as you kind of think about that, do we have their best interests in mind? And we're in a tough place right now because there's a lot of folks that are trying to pay the bills, for themselves, but also for their organizations. And we've seen, I think it was in Wisconsin, where there's that one bar where 82 people, I think, ended up getting the coronavirus because they just said, screw it, we don't need masks. We're gonna just kind of do our own thing. And we're seeing spikes in places like Florida and Texas and Arizona. And it seems like this isn't really going anywhere. So even if you're not one of the believers, even if you're like the rebellious kid that thinks you don't need to wear a mask, it's not for you. It's for the people that come in to make them feel safe. And if you want your restaurant, your organization to be successful, you need the people that come in to feel safe. And the way to do that is to make them to do so through transparency. So obviously the signage we talked about before. I think social media is one that's being a little bit underutilized. So there's a lot of stories we can tell, whether it's following the chef around and showing all the different things you're doing, or just talking through things with your staff, on social media, and kind of showing what those stories are for your staff. And then we talked also about staff knowledge. If they don't know, and if they can't communicate that to the people that are coming in, then they're not going to feel safe. It's like when you ask what the special is, and that they just explain it to you, but they don't really know it. They're gonna kind of stumble over their words, and as a result, you're gonna be like, well, maybe I'll get something else not this special. So when they really understand it, when they know it, and when they can kind of rattle it off, that's when they're gonna make the people that come in that have questions, that are a little bit anxious at times, they're gonna help them to feel more at ease. And this is really where I feel like, as organizations, again, it's a resetting of things, and maybe restaurants or companies were struggling going into this. Well, okay, now it's like, all is back to kind of square one, and everyone has to kind of reprove themselves. So this is your chance. And if you do the right things, if you are able to implement this type of stuff, it'll be really helpful to help your brand moving forward, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then social distancing. So obviously there's, the 6 feet, having, separate tables, outside dining, but also making sure that this goes back to the, wearing masks and things of that nature is for the well-being of the people there, but it's also for the well-being of the restaurant. There's certain people that are going to come in, and if they look around and see that, oh, well, the table over there and the one over there, they're not wearing masks, well, maybe I'll go somewhere else. So letting your patrons know that, hey, like, okay, nobody likes wearing the mask, right? Like, they ask like the 3 questions when you come into work, like, can you, do you have any COVID symptoms? Have you been in contact with anybody with COVID? And the third one's like, any trouble breathing? And it's like, no, not really, except for when I wear this mask. So I think that's a lot of us, right? We just don't enjoy the mask. But if we can communicate to our customers the importance of it, that's what's going to help people keep coming back in these kind of weird times that we're in. So like I said, it's a fresh start. It's a fresh start for our staff. So this is a great opportunity for folks that are working to do a little bit of a gut check. Like, do they want to be in this industry or not? And there's probably most staffs have at least 1 or 2 people on there that were kind of going through the motions, that maybe needed a side job but weren't really in it. So I think it's up to us as the leaders to make sure that we are paying attention to that, and maybe have a candid conversation with somebody. It's also a chance to kind of reinvigorate the staff, to get them remotivated. The next kind of frontier, the next chapter is right in front of us, and it's their opportunity to kind of take it by the horns. So it's a great opportunity to create new systems in place. Yeah, I can tell you, I've worked, and I've actually been guilty of this myself too, where there weren't the right systems in place, weren't the right procedures, maybe it's certain recipes or whatever else that made things consistent, and made things so that they were replicable every single time. So this is, I think, a great opportunity to not only kind of relook at those systems, but also reinforce them, and kind of hold ourselves and the people that we work with accountable to those. Same thing with standards, right? And then winning over our customers. If we do all these things right, if we take care of these things, then yeah, we can win the customers back over. Even if we were kind of on the brink of failure before, it's a new start for everybody. And this all kind of goes back to the brand. And you kind of ask, what's a brand? What does that mean? And essentially, my favorite definition of a brand is what someone thinks about you or says about you when you're not in the room. So I think we need to ask ourselves, what do people think about our restaurant or our organization? Why should someone come to our restaurant instead of the one down the street? Obviously, they have a choice all the time, but now more than ever, they're going to be going back out for the first time. They're going to be enjoying a meal with their friends and family, maybe celebrating things that they've put on hold for 2 or 3 months. And why should they pick you? There is a great opportunity, I think, for a lot of folks out there. If they do it right, if they put these things in place, then they can be super successful. There's a lot of different ways to try to move this forward, and it doesn't seem like it's going. But anyway, so other ways we think about are in terms of opportunities for generating sales. We've talked. At least we're all familiar with like to go. We're familiar with takeaway, with meal prep type stuff. I think if you're doing those kinds of things, it'd be a really nice touch to have a video maybe made by the chef that kind of walks them through it when they get home, how to make the dish. Along the same lines, if you're giving your raw ingredients for people to make at home, you can do things like virtual wine dinners. So where they can buy the bottle of wine from your restaurant or your country club, and everybody buys, maybe it's a 3-course meal, and everybody kind of cooks it along with each other as they're enjoying 3 different wines that are paired with 3 different meals, 3 different courses, so things along that lines. We've seen things like gift cards. I've encouraged people to, if they have regulars that always come in to sit in December for their holiday parties to celebrate their holidays with their business, see if they'll go ahead and book now, where that way you can get a little bit of revenue coming in. The gift cards can be kind of tricky because you don't want to kind of mortgage away your future right now. So if you sell a bunch of gift cards right now, we know how that works. We've already used that money by the time they come in and use the gift cards. So I would recommend, if you do use gift cards, maybe doing something along the lines of the gift cards that we're selling right now are good from from July 1st to July 31st, and stagger them out. And then there's also new technologies, and then the idea of like ghost kitchens or cloud kitchens, which I'm not sure if you guys have any in Pittsburgh or not, but if you're not familiar with the idea, it's essentially a restaurant that exists but doesn't exist. So there's no actual frontage, there's no actual space for a customer to walk in, but with all the online ordering now, there's they'll populate on places like Grubhub and Uber Eats and things like that. So you could literally have your restaurant, and then it could be a high-end place, and say you're not getting enough revenue right now, well, you could easily create a cloud kitchen or a ghost kitchen that could be a taqueria, or it could be a burger bar with a completely different concept within the same kitchen, putting out completely different types of foods. So that's really kind of neat to think about as well. That's also getting a lot of steam in places like New York and San Francisco. And speaking of online ordering, if you're a restaurant and you're not doing online ordering yet, I think you need to hop on board. And if at all possible, keep any sort of delivery in-house. Look at the cost of and the overhead of the third-party delivery apps. They're just not gonna work long term. So we've seen all these commercials with them trying to advertise free delivery, and that's just them trying to get an extra customer for free that they'll be able to use for what they think will be the lifetime of the customer. So using your own staff, I think, especially if you're not fully open yet, maybe you can use your front of the house staff that is waiting tables. Hey, if they have a car, maybe they can deliver for you. But for the time being, for the immediate future, I think it's up to us to try to do whatever we can to kind of make ends meet. Let me try to. Here we go. All right. So now versus the future. That's what I was trying to check to. So delivery, takeout, meal prep. Future groups, talk about that. Online ordering, customer feedback. So I think this is one that's probably not focused on enough. So there's a lot of folks that are doing completely different kitchen operations than they were 3 months ago. My restaurant, we did probably about 200 people a day. Probably about 135, 140 of that was in-house. The rest was delivery or takeout. So that ended up being a decent size of our business, but took a long time to get the right stride with that. I think people underestimate the challenge it is of you're used to just plating everything, and now you're putting everything in a box and having to kind of set all that up and with their tickets and everything else. And then now we're seeing on the opposite side of that, we're seeing as restaurants are opening back up, they're going from everything in a box. Now they're going back into full service with people in house, and they're having trouble making the adjustment back. So we've seen some restaurants close their dining rooms for the time being and say, hey, you know what? The delivery, the takeout was working for us. We're just going to stick to that for now. That's a big one. So customer feedback, what are we doing wrong? What would you prefer to see on the menu that we're putting out? how can we make things more efficient? How can we make things more seamless and frictionless for you? You know, at the end of the day, when you order online, you want to be quick, you want to be easy, you want to be seamless, where you can hit a few buttons on your phone and have it come out to you. So right now, I think customers are more than likely willing to be a little bit forgiving. So trying to kind of get some of those nuggets of information that they probably aren't willing to tell you at first, but if you kind of ask for it, if nothing else, say, well, what's the one thing that we could have done better this time? That's one way to kind of get something out of them. And then alignment with your supplier brands. So if it's wines or liquors or beers, or it's local farms where you're talking about the seafood you're using, or the local tomatoes from the farm up the road. We're all kind of trying to fight through this together. So if you can work together to try and get your audience with their audience, and that also is a chance for you to kind of build your brand, and those people out there you can remind them of what you stand for, that you want local and organic and wherever that might be. We talked about ghost kitchens as well. And so in the future, I don't anticipate there being a huge long-term difference in the way that we operate. I'd love to hear some of y'all's thoughts on this as well once I kind of wrap up here. But I think the biggest thing is having a strategy for right now, which is we'll do whatever we can to kind of make things work as long as it's within the confines of our brand. And we've seen people like Canlis out in Seattle doing a great job of pivoting from a experience-driven high-end restaurant to they had a staff member that loved making bagels on the side, and they started doing bagels in the morning and burgers at lunch and affordable things at dinner time as well. So they pivoted, and if they can pivot and have burgers and bagels for breakfast, why can't any other high-end restaurant? So doing whatever you can in the near term to make things work, and then long term having a strategy as well. So all right, once things are back to normal, what can we do to keep the right momentum moving forward? Putting these people in place so they have their responsibilities, and having the right staff and people around that are going to buy into what we're trying to do. Because it's going to take at least a year or two probably to kind of get back to normal. So if we don't have the right people around that are taking care of our customers, that are bought into what we're doing as an organization, then it's not going to work. And so really it's about brand alignment, cultural alignment, and doing those things that are going to put you in the best position to succeed. And that's kind of where I had things. I know some of that was kind of general, so I'd love to, if there's any questions or tactical things that anybody has they want to kind of talk about, or questions, I'd love to kind of get into some of that.
Chef, are you hearing anything interesting in catering? People, I mean, being that it's shut down, is anybody out there doing anything out of the box to help with catering?
I haven't heard a lot. I've heard, and this is nothing that's gonna surprise anyone here listening, but I've heard of going from a self-service buffet to obviously having somebody that's going to be serving you from the staff, almost like cafeteria style, boxed meals, things of that nature. I mean, there might be an opportunity for, like Jason, you were talking earlier about, you're doing plated meals now. Like we all know, like a plated meal you can charge more for than a buffet meal. So there might be an opportunity there, just in terms of numbers. But yeah, I haven't. And if anyone has, I'd love to hear about it.
One of the things we've done for the banquet side of the house, since we took a bit of a hit on that, was we've noticed a lot of people were, they'd have a wedding for 180 people, and then all of a sudden that wedding for 180 gets cut down to 60 people. So what we started doing was developing buffet or family style menus for smaller groups of people that could all be funneled out of the kitchen on a lower staff rate. So instead
Okay.
of a wedding that would, typically take for 180 people, I would need 4 or 5 guys in my kitchen for that. Moving down to 60 people, that's something I can do on my own. But it's also something that we would take care of all in-house, have delivered to their place. And for a small fee, they might even be able to use one of the staff members for, just kind of like a visual or, assistance in like serving.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And are those just disposables that at the end of the night they're done?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a nice touch having someone there that's gonna maybe replenish if they need to, or pick up plates if they need to, things like that.
Somebody have something?
Hey, Chris, do you said this is Rick Panzara, Chris? Do you see
Hey, Rick.
that this is going to be the way it's probably going to go? And I don't know whether that's a bad thing or not. I think it's if we can, modify how we're doing food service. I think that we're going to see changes that will be to our advantage. Now, what it may do is to advantage me probably to the owner or who's ever paying the bills, that they're going to be able to slim some salaries down.
Mm-hmm.
That, on the other hand, is probably going to create problems in employment for many people. Therefore, we may see people leaving the industry because of that. How do you think this may all turn out? I mean, everything is up in the air. We really don't know. I mean, we've seen too many things on television and what's going on. I just came back from Virginia the end of last week, and I did go out and have dinner one night with my family, and we were spaced out and from other tables and so on, but I did see a very smaller crowd of people as opposed to what you used to see in this area. It was down in Virginia Beach, and what you used to see. And
That's where I am right now.
So is that where you are? You said?
Yep. Where'd you guys go?
Actually, when I used to work down there, I used to go into. We went to a place called Ocean 14. Which I think is new. I don't ever remember seeing it, but we did try to get into, I think it's Ocean Eddies.
Yeah.
On 17th Street on the pier.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 45 minutes to an hour and a half wait, so we just decided to go somewhere else. But that's, I mean, on the boardwalk there, as you well know, at this time of year, you're like a ball in a pinball machine normally. You're just bouncing off of people left and right. But we didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously people are staying home a little bit. But this particular place we had gone to was right, as soon as you walk off the pier, it was right on the other side of the boardwalk. It must be new. I've never seen it before. But, people were spaced out inside, but outside seating, they were a little bit closer together.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I just don't know how this is all going to fold out. But
yeah, well, there's an interesting kind of alignment of stars happening here, where like all the stuff that you said, plus you have an industry that's already a little bit oversaturated, where there's you look at the industry 20 years ago, and there was, I mean, when I was growing up, there's in my immediate neighborhood, there's a Mexican place, a pizza place, a Chinese place, and maybe a high-end French place. Now it's pretty much, and Applebee's probably. That's pretty much it. Now there's every type of concept. So I think we were already a little bit thin. I think we'll definitely lose some people. Hopefully I hate to say this, but hopefully that's a good thing, as in like losing the right people. But at the same time, there's people that I wouldn't blame if their heart's not in it. If they want to go get a job working for FedEx, making 15 or 18 bucks an hour, don't have to work weekends or Mother's Day or late nights. And then you also have, and this is where I think it's interesting, is you have a generation of anyone from like 8 years old up to the generation that'll be coming up next to 14 or so, that they are going to have a certain standard of personal hygiene that didn't really exist before. And we talk a lot about, or we practice probably better than anybody aside from the medical fields, personal hygiene, but it's never been kind of on the forefront. So I think it will be a good thing, as you said, in terms of being held accountable to do things the right way. It will be interesting to see what happens with the talent pool. It was already hard enough keeping people around. There's the economics of living in a big city like Pittsburgh or New York, or even parts of Virginia Beach, where to get to work it's almost not worth it because you have to live so far away. So there's challenges for sure, but I like to think on the other side of this, there's something good, and as long as we can maybe move away from, at some point down the road, you having to wear the mask, a year or two from now, where the experience feels more like what it was. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Just, we were talking about, and you mentioned, possibly who it may weed out. One of the things you find with food service industry in this country, as opposed to possibly through Europe, is it is a business that attracts a lot of people who are not in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
In it while they're going to school.
Right.
They can make a quick dollar. I'm wondering if what's going to happen with some of these folks is that maybe, is it possible they may be the ones who will not come in it? You know what I mean? Maybe they won't do this. I don't know, but it will certainly start to weed people out without a doubt.
Well, and if you think about a lot of these folks who are still collecting unemployment, making the regular unemployment plus the extra $600 a month until the end of July, which is insane, I think. But that's a whole different conversation. But with that being the case, restaurants. I have a friend that has a hotel that he can't get his housekeepers back because they're making more sitting on the couch, and so.
That's right.
All right. Well, you can stay on the couch if you want, but in a month, once your $600 a week dries up, you're gonna have to find a job somewhere else. So, like you're saying, maybe that whole group of people that are what I think of as a kind of transient in the industry will kind of figure out what is the path that I do want to take, or maybe I'm gonna go to school, or maybe I'm gonna do something else. It's long, it's hard, it's if you don't love it, then it's not for you.
Right. And those who are, I'm retired, but those who are in the industry now are going to have to really take a good look at what they want to do. Especially those who are in schools now. And I taught for a good part of my career, but you're going to have to take a good look at what you want to do. And how is this going to pan out for you? And are you willing to accept the challenges now as opposed to what we had last year?
Yeah.
Last year challenges were slightly different. Now we have the same type of challenges and more.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes people just say, I don't think I want to do that. And that's going to affect people who are running kitchens, and now because it's hard, now it's just hard to keep people going. Even prior to this pandemic, it was hard to find people to work. As Brian and I would get all the time, I worked with Brian for the last 3 years, we would get calls all the time at the, with our ACF and from other schools would get them as well. As I need people.
Yeah.
You can't find them. We can't get them because that uh, pool is slowly drying up, and this may even make that worse.
Yeah, and from my experience, a lot of the culinary students that I have are very green. A lot of them don't really have their hands wet in the industry. So they love the idea of it. They've seen Top Chef or Gordon Ramsay's show, but they don't know what it's like in the trenches. And so a lot of those folks, the way I see it, don't even actually make it in sometimes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting over through the next several months to see what's going to happen and how it's going to play out.
If I could, I actually got a question that kind of ties into all of this, and it's actually along the lines of how cautious do you think we should be, Chef, jumping back in? Here in Pittsburgh, we noticed that a lot of the restaurants, as soon as we went into what we called our green phase, to where we were allowed to go back to 50% of our capacity, or more, depending on what we could do with social distancing. I noticed a lot of people jumping right back in, going full force. They did what they could. They put plexiglass up around their bars. They opened their doors. They just said, come on in. Now, but what I've also started to see is that with the increase in cases that we've had here in Allegheny County, specifically, some of those restaurants have actually been dialing back. And, going hand in hand with what we're doing with our staff going forward, do you think there should be a level of concern of how much we jump back in? Should it be something that should be dialed back a little bit and progress in small stages? Or do you think it should be more focused on, hey, we sooner or later, we're going to get back to a somewhat normal, and that should be our goal?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're being Monday morning quarterback, I think most of us would say, well, maybe just wait out 2 more weeks, hardcore of quarantining, of not going out, and maybe that would have done the trick. But now we're seeing some of the cases spike, and there's a balance, right? Of people need to pay their bills, but obviously businesses to stay open. I can only imagine what's going to happen if they have to reclose, after having been closed for 2 months or whatever it's been. So it's obviously a balancing act. What I would say is, if you're doing the right things, if you're enforcing some of the stuff we talked about, that has come to be common practice, at least when done right, all right, if you're not wearing a mask, sorry. I saw somewhere in Florida, a guy got kicked out of a restaurant for not wearing his mask, and through a huge scene, and having a little bit of a backbone to say, hey, you know what, sorry, this is the deal. And if you don't want to, I understand, you can go to the place up the street, but unfortunately, we're gonna take your temperature. We're gonna make sure all these things are in place, and if they're not, then you're gonna have to go somewhere else. So yeah, I think if you do it right, I think it's I'd feel comfortable doing it. If I had a restaurant right now, I think I would try and do everything I could to make sure that those pieces were in place, and would do the 50%, and if it opened up for more, maybe do more. But I think, from what it seems like to me, the case increases are coming from people not being responsible when they're out, people not paying attention to the guidelines that have been put out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess nobody has the answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're still going to get those people who are going to, if you would, bitch and complain that that they're going to be held out because they feel it's their right. And the unfortunate thing is, they're only stopping at a certain point in the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't want to have their rights infringed upon, so they believe they don't have to wear that mask or do it or what is socially acceptable. On the other hand, do they have the right to put others in possible harm's way? What about their rights? So, like you said, you're right. Restaurant owners are going to have to stand up to this and protect their customers. But you're going to have battles. It's an unfortunate thing, but there are going to be battles with this. I don't know. There's no fairy dust we could sprinkle on everybody and make them all think the same way. That's for sure.
No, but I do think that the vast majority of people are reasonable enough to, if there's a request, if I was to come over there sincerely, if I was a manager, come over sincerely and try to explain it to you, I would like to think that 9.5 out of 10 people would understand and might be annoyed because they had to wait 30 minutes. Now they can't sit down or whatever it is. But, I don't know, maybe you give them a $10 gift card and say, hey, when you have your mask, come back. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You might have to, make some concessions as an operator in order to bring them back because of this. Show them, you're going to have to show them you want them to come back, but
Right.
follow their guidelines, and here's what we can do for you. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
It seems like operators are going to have to spend a little bit more money to do something like this in order to bring them back. Maybe that's the point of part of the marketing deal that they'll have to take on.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like, hey, I'm looking out for you. Like the one you're upset, but I'm actually looking out for you.
Yeah, that's correct.
Anybody else have anything for Chef?
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate you coming out.
Chris, thank you so much for, on behalf of the Pittsburgh chapter. We were so glad to, be able to get this information and have somebody of your caliber come in and share it with our organization. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Chef.
Yep.
Thanks,
And
Chris.
now,
Awesome.
and now on our end of it, just because we let Chris kind of go first here, just, it is I wanted to bring up a couple points. As I don't know if you, Rick, I don't think you were here yet. And some of the other people I see, we have more participation that joined. There was a chef thread that was started with all presidents and vice presidents and so forth, to maybe start doing more Zoom shares on a bigger level, taking and getting a very good candidate such as Chef Chris here, and taking and putting that person in charge of a meeting and doing a demonstration, this, that, the other thing, making it be worth points for certification, but sharing it through different chapters. And I hope that turns off. John had kind of spearheaded that a little bit and put that out there. So we'll see if it catches fire and goes forward. And then the other point was, I have talked with Jason. We have Chef Ed Leonard up next. Jason will be contacting Chef. As you know, Chef Leonard is a master chef, one of the 72 in the world. He was on the Culinary Olympic team. I mean, I could go on and on. This man has so many things, 34 gold medals, all these things that he has done. Private club cuisine book that he had put out. He has a lot of things. I have spoken to him a week and a half ago. He has committed to the Pittsburgh chapter to do our next meeting. We just got to hone that down as to what time and fit it in. And sometimes we have to make some accommodations. So we will be ahead of that. We're not probably going to do it in July. And I was going to turn to you and Andrea and so forth, Chef, as the past presidents that I see are here, only because we never did one really in July. So I don't think the membership is going to be ready for that or want to, maybe participate in that. So I figured we'd still do it in August, but it might be the second or third week in August, depending on what Chef's needs are. Okay. And then Jason, obviously with Chef Hills here, we did touch on COVID.
Yep.
So we will direct him into a different way for our meeting on something else. As I said, I think he has enough things in his repertoire that he can really produce a really high quality meeting with us. And then hopefully by then we'll do some sharing. I know that Chef Barry, Young, and John and those guys have been interested in doing some sharing and different things with the local chapters on the east side here. So we'll see what we can do. Other than that, we need to go into our new and old business and so forth and finish up with our meeting side of it. So leave a chance for the membership to speak. Is there anything that we need to know for new business? Boy, you guys are quiet. I do have my mute off, don't I?
Yeah, you're good.
Sat here and talked for 15 minutes and nobody's listening. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, nothing on new?
Brian,
Yes, sir.
not necessarily new business, nor is it an old business, but just something to bring up. We have to start looking at the Chef of the Year, and that's going to have to start being promoted relatively soon. And I don't quite know how we're going. I'm obviously, the voting will take place hopefully the way we planned it online, which I think will be a great thing for this. But I don't know how the dinner thing will plan out, and that's something that Joe and I spoke about. I don't know how that's going to work unless something truly happens that we are able to congregate as a group, as an organization. I don't know whether this is going to pan out into our normal dinners. We just don't know at this point. I mean, right now, as you've seen with the Shen dinner is unfortunately had to be put off several times because we just don't know what the hell is going to happen. But but I don't think the dinner is the main thing. It's getting that Chef of the Year straight, and keeping that going. And if it has to be done the way we're doing things right now, as far as awarding it to the person, whoever it may be, then that's the way we'll have to go. We're going to have to face that.
Right.
But we're still going to have to keep that online and keep moving with that, regardless of what else happens.
Well, I think maybe, Chef, at the next board meeting here, that we will put in that discussion as far as what's our plan, what's our backup plan. I mean, because I think this will be much less, it seems to be something like we're doing right now. It will have to be a Zoom share type event and an award, the award to the chef and do the best that we can, because I don't see this being gone by then.
Right.
I mean, we're talking at best we could have a virus possibly happening by then, but stranger things have happened. I see that Chef Young is here maybe now. Maybe he can address that a little bit if he can hear me.
Yeah, I can't see who's on. I see Jason, you, Brian, and Jill, and that's all I see.
Here he comes.
Change your view, hover over where you see that block of faces, and up near the top there are a couple of little logos. You can actually change how you can view, how many people you can view. You can go into like a gallery view, and that'll show everybody.
There you go.
Because now
Hi, John.
Skinhead John Selleck over there.
Hey.
Hey guys.
Nice hairdo, John.
Hey, nice meeting. I just want to step in. That I thought Chef Chris was great. And just so you know that we decided in Cleveland that we feel like the time, in October we usually have it, that a lot of our chefs will be getting back to work, and our success also depends on donations from our vendors, and they haven't had the revenue in a few months, so I didn't feel it was appropriate to go to them and ask them to donate products. So we just decided not to have it this year, but we are still considering doing some chapter awards, possibly like humanitarian of the year or something like that. But for the record, we did decide to cancel the brunch.
You do that in November, John, is that correct?
Yeah, it's like in October, November. We always do it on the Browns bye week. So
That's
that's
about
usually
any time, isn't it?
Oh, I knew. I should have just. I knew as I was saying it.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go,
I'm sorry.
But
I wasn't going to say anything, John, but yeah, I echo that. That's good.
So anyways, yeah, it's like October, November. So the event itself is canceled. Same reason, we can't get 100 people in a room. Whoever needs to host it, I feel like they have more important business to handle, and it's just too dicey.
What might be the best thing is make the announcement of who is Chef of the Year as soon as we know who the Chef of the Year is. Don't wait for the dinner. And then have the dinner to honor them maybe in October 2021 or September 2021, not September because that's when kids go back to school, but October 2021 or November, and still have that honoring, but making sure that we announce it earlier so that they still get their like 9 to 12 months of being like, I'm Chef of the Year.
Right.
Oh, Brian,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me?
Okay.
As you know, with National, what we did for the Northeast and Southeast in the spring, we just did a conference call for the award winners. We're doing the same again for the convention, doing virtual. And I believe that'll be during the virtual convention. I know Columbus this last year, we had to kind of scale back, not because of COVID, but we just did an award ceremony, and then maybe we'll do a dinner the next year or the following year. I mean, we're just kind of playing it by ear. I think that's
Right.
what a lot of others are doing as well.
Right. Well, I can probably attest that all of Pittsburgh will be ready for a party when we can. That's for sure. It's just a matter of picking what date and whether it be jazz brunch and we do it then, or whether we do our black tie like we normally do further on in the year. I think that's the way we're going to have to kind of play this by ear, just like our meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
And vaccines are in human trials right now. So, I mean, if we do it'll be at least 8 months before they actually hit market. But if we plan for October, November, that will give it time for the vaccine to hit the market.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I agree with you, Lisa. We still have to get that out there in time, and then just maybe
Yeah.
celebrate it several months later if necessary. But you're right. That may be it. That's probably the way we're gonna have to go about it.
Even to do like like what we normally do at the dinner, where the person who nominated says a little speech, the president says a speech, and then maybe have like people who have worked with them talk about it. And we could make it something really special, even if it is just a Zoom call.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Any other new business? Any old business? Anybody want to comment on white pepper?
Not commenting on white pepper, but everybody who was here should have gotten their certificates in their email. If you did not, please email acfpittsburgh@gmail, and I'll make sure you get one.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. They're informal. I was glad to be able to still get this off. I think that this has been nice. I really would like to expand upon this. I really think that it gives us an opportunity to get some great presenters that don't have to worry about leaving the confines of their home and be able to put on a great meeting and still be able to do something for our chapter. So anything else, please leave us know. Anything else from you, Chef Barry?
I appreciate you let me join your meeting this evening. If anybody needs to talk to me about anything for the national events or anything, please don't hesitate. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about Nashville. I mean, as of right now, it's still on for the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, we're all kind of waiting game on our end too. So if anybody has any issues, concerns about anything, don't hesitate to ever reach out to me, because if I don't get right back to you, I will eventually. So.
All right. Well, thank you all again. And Chef Barry, I will maybe give you a call coming up for the Pittsburgh
Yes.
Connect. Yeah, when we have our conference here, I would like to reach out to you about that and get our people ready to be in play and maybe
Definitely.
talk about, you know, what's going to happen and things.
Is the Omni open yet?
No.
Okay.
No, I
I
didn't
thought it
think,
was.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they've got another month to go. Originally, they were supposed to open, I think, at the end of this month, like tomorrow. But I don't think they're doing, I don't think they're going to open for another month at least.
I know that's one thing National's trying to find out. That's kind of a hold up there for us.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll talk here soon. Maybe, I don't know what this week looks for you.
Yeah, maybe get after 4th of July.
Oh yeah, that is this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Happy 4th to everybody.
Yep.
Same to you, Barry.
All right.
All right, all. Thank you so much again, and then I will follow up with you, Jason, here on a few things, and I appreciate everybody for coming. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Take care. Have a great night.
Take care.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Ryan, are you going to stay on the Zoom
I'm here. Yep.
chat to chat with Jason? I was going to switch you to host. So if
Oh
you
no,
need
I
to
can.
talk
I'll
about
call
something
him either privately or otherwise, just to go over some different things. Anybody else? Take care. Have a great evening. Thank you, Lisa.
Take care.
I'll call you in a minute, Jason.
Not a problem, Chef.
All right. Thanks.